Well, this is kind of interesting. Forbes, being a mainstream site and all, February 5th, 2010, 4:35 p.m. Eastern Time. This article is posted by Michael Fumento. Why the World Health Organization, the WHO, faked a pandemic? This is posted in 2010. What is this? And it's got a little note for me. Look at this little note. This article, right here. This article is more than 10 years old. Well, thanks for letting me know that. Not that it matters to me. But let's see what it has to say. The World Health Organization has suddenly gone from crying, "The sky is falling," like a cackling chicken little, to squealing like a stuck pig. The reason? Charges that the agency deliberately fomented swine flu hysteria. Quote, "The world is going through a real pandemic. The description of it as a fake is wrong and irresponsible," the agency claims on its website. A WHO spokesman declined to specify who or what gave this description, but the primary accuser is hard to ignore. The Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, or PACE, a human rights watchdog, is publicly investigating the WHO's motives in declaring a pandemic. Indeed, the chairman of its influential health committee, epidemiologist Wolfgang Wodarg, has declared that the false pandemic is one of the greatest medicine scandals of the century, he said. Even within the agency, the director of the World Health Organization Collaborating Center for Epidemiology in Munster, Germany, Dr. Ulrich Kehl, has essentially labeled the pandemic a hoax. This is not me talking, people. I'm not saying it's a hoax. I'm not saying that swine flu was a hoax, Zika was a hoax, Ebola was a hoax, reemergence of the measles was a hoax, and a whole bunch of others. And lately, this new one called coronavirus. I'm not saying these are hoaxes. And people will say, well, Joe, when people do say it's a hoax, I know somebody who got it. I know somebody that died. Okay. But if the medical industry, so to speak, led by the CDC guidelines that say pretty much label all deaths right now as COVID, that's essentially what the document says. I've already read it to you. I've already given you download links. It's right from the effing CDC website. Yet when Zika was out, they did not have those kind of guidelines. They said you better test, and the test better be positive. We don't care if someone they knew had Zika. They have all the symptoms of Zika. If you didn't test, you cannot write that down as a cause of death or even a diagnosis. But for coronavirus, oh no, scratch that. Scratch it. Don't need it. Just label everything as corona. So, since I'm not talking, I'm just reading you a Forbes article. Direct quotes, by the way. This is not conspiracy. This is not... Nope. Dangerous or whatever content, as YouTube called dangerous or misleading content. No. I'm quoting one of your effing authority sources, YouTube. Forbes. And people who are from the World Health Organization and other organizations. Word for word quotes. Okay, thanks. Even within the agency, the director of the WHO, Collaborating Center for Epidemiology, again, Germany dude, has essentially labeled the pandemic a hoax. Who did? Who labeled it a hoax? I'm not talking about this one. I'm talking about, was it swine flu we said? Right? Swine flu. Yeah, swine flu. Even within the agency, the director of the World Health Organization Collaborating Center for Epidemiology in Munster, Germany, Dr. Ulrich Kehl, has essentially labeled the pandemic a hoax. Look at my screen. Read it with your own two eyes. Even within the agency, the director of the World Health Organization Collaborating Center for Epidemiology in Munster, Germany, Dr. Ulrich Kehl, has essentially labeled the pandemic a hoax. We are witnessing a gigantic misallocation of resources. $18 billion so far in terms of public health, he said. And here we are screaming to you guys, just follow the money. Bill Gates, oh, I get to do the whole world with my vaccination, but I need pure immunity too, in case any accidents happen. You know, someone gets his vaccine injured. With 7 billion people on the planet, you know, there might be a lawsuit or two coming my way, he said. That's what Bill Gates said. Yeah, I'll need immunity. I'll get the vaccine, but I need immunity. They spent $18 billion so far back in 2010 on what this guy who works for the World Health Organization says it's a hoax. In terms of public health, he said, they're right. That's the end quote. They're right. This wasn't merely overcautiousness or simple misjudgment. The pandemic declaration and all the klaxon ringing since reflect sheer dishonesty motivated not by medical concerns, but political ones. Unquestionably, swine flu has proved to be vastly milder than an ordinary seasonal flu. It kills at a third to a tenth the rate, according to U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention estimates. Data from other countries like France and Japan indicate it's far tamer than that. Indeed. So hold on, what did we catch about this? Unquestionably, swine flu has proved to be vastly milder than ordinary seasonal flu. Kind of like corona. Vastly milder than everything else. Except, even the numbers where they are now are not correct because they're labeling so many deaths irresponsibly as COVID. But the doctors take orders from the top, the local health organization, the state health organization, and then finally Mama, Papa Bear, top of the pyramid, so to speak, the CDC, United States federal government. Here's our guidelines for this epidemic, in this case, COVID. And we say, even if you're not sure if it's COVID, write down COVID. So how drastically lower are the numbers for COVID? Probably stupid low, to be honest with you. But Joe, I know someone who died. I believe you. They may have died of pneumonia. Maybe they got the flu. Maybe they got something else. And, well, one of those symptoms might be COVID. Write down COVID. Done. She's an 89-year-old. She has pneumonia. She has a collapsed lung. Write down COVID. Sorry. I've presented you medical doctors, nurses. I showed you videos of them speaking at a podium. Here's who I am. Here's my credentials. We're being lied to. This is not correct. We're being told to write this down. This is insane. Write down these deaths for no reason. She's telling you that. Again, I'm just reporting. I'm doing what a news journalist should actually do. Investigative reporter. J. Snip investigates. So, someone had posted this on Twitter. Oh, another smoking gun. From 2010. One of the many epidemics we have every 2 years, blown way out of proportion, billions of dollars thrown around. And there it is, 18 billion for that one thrown around. What is this one costing us, people? People are out of jobs, staying at home, can't go back to work yet. Is there even going to be work when you're done? When this is over? You going to even have a job to go back to? This is in the trillions, or it's already in the trillions. Wow, 2.2 trillion funding bill. We need another, at least another 2.2. Even the Democrats, we need at least another. So there's 4.5 trillion, like that. Over something that appears, in my opinion, appears to be that of what I just read you about effing swine flu from 2010. Way overblown. The hospitals are empty, people. I read you first video today. Read you the guy, Joe, I'm a medical director at such and such. Hardly any patients or hardly anything going on here. Hashtag film your hospital trending on Twitter. Why? Because people are filming their hospitals. They're watching no new people going into the hospital. Yet these crazy numbers are still coming out. 3,000 died over here. 700 died over there. How? Well, if it's really pneumonia, and it's really the flu, and it's really some other heart disease or anything else, and they're labeling it It's a simple data entry point. Just call it COVID, done. Oh, here's the numbers that are coming in, everybody. It's scary. New York's out of control, and oh my God. They've got refrigerated trucks outside of New York. Okay, well, no new people coming into the hospitals, but you still have bodies coming out. Where are the bodies coming from? So, indeed, judging by what we've seen in New Zealand and Australia, where the epidemics have ended, and by what we're seeing elsewhere in the world, we'll have considerably fewer flu deaths this season than normal. That's because swine flu muscles aside, seasonal flu, acting as a sort of inoculation against the far deadlier strain. Well, does it? Hold on. Does it? Or were people, doctors, labeling flu deaths then as swine flu? I'm asking. I'm not telling you. I'm asking. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Doesn't even matter. Did the World Health Organization have any indicators of this mildness when it declared the pandemic in June? Absolutely. As I wrote at the time, we were then fully 11 weeks into the outbreak, and swine flu had only killed 144 people worldwide. The same number who die of seasonal flu worldwide every few hours. An estimated 250,000 to 500,000 per year by the World Health Organization's own numbers. The mildest pandemics of the 20th century killed at least 1 million people. But how could the organization declare a pandemic when its own official definition required, quote, simultaneous epidemics worldwide with enormous numbers of deaths and illnesses, end quote? Severity, that is, the number of deaths, is crucial because every year, flu cases a global spread of disease. Easy. In May, in what it admitted was a direct response to the outbreak of swine flu the month before, the WHO promulgated a new definition matched to swine flu that simply eliminated severity as a factor. You could now have a pandemic with 0 deaths. Under fire, the organization is boldly lying about the change, to which anybody with an internet connection can attest. In a mid-January virtual conference, World Health Organization swine flu chief Keiji Fukuda stated, quote, "Did WHO change its definition of a pandemic? The answer is no. WHO did not change its definition." 2 weeks later, at a PACE conference, he insisted having severe deaths has never been part of the WHO definition. They did it, but why? In part, it was a CYA for the World Health Organization. The agency was losing credibility over the refusal of avian flu H5N1 to go pandemic and kill as many as 150 million people worldwide, and its flu czar had predicted, as its flu czar had predicted in 2005. Again, these people have a strange, canny ability to predict future scary things, and then they happen. And then when they happen, they're not as bad as they said, but they scared the shit out of everybody in the meantime. Money flying everywhere, more money, we need more money, money, we need more World Health Organization, United Nations, AIDS help, oh, we need help, man, we need more money. And you're paying for it. You're paying for them to scare the shit out of you. You're paying for them to lock you down. You're paying for them to, some of y'all are going to possibly be forced vaccinated. Maybe not in the United States, but elsewhere you might be screwed. And it's all based on lies. It's right here. I'm reading you quotes from people who are inside the World Health Organization. Around the world, nations heeded the warnings and spent vast sums developing vaccine. Who gets paid? Who gets all that money? The vaccine companies. Big Pharma. Bill Gates and friends. Around the world, nations heeded the warnings and spent vast sums developing vaccines and making other preparations. So when swine flu conveniently trotted in, the World Health Organization essentially crossed out the word avian and inserted swine. And World Health Organization Director General Margaret Chan arrogantly boasted, the world can now reap the benefits of investments over the last 5 years in pandemic preparedness. But there's more than bureaucratic self-interest at work here. Bizarrely enough, the World Health Organization has exploited its phony pandemic to push a hard-left political agenda. In a September, I can't believe this is Forbes saying this. This is a Forbes article. In a September speech, World Health Organization Director General Chan said, "Ministers of health should take advantage of the devastating impact swine flu will have on poorer nations to get out the message that changes in the functioning of the global economy are needed to distribute wealth on the basis of values like community, solidarity, equity, and social justice." She further declared it should be used as a weapon against international policies and systems that govern financial markets, economies, commerce, trade, and foreign affairs. You mean like the United States? We have a country that has international policies, but we have local policies too, and systems that govern financial markets, economies, commerce, trade, and foreign affairs. We have that here. She further declared it should be used as a weapon against that. Huh. Gosh, you would have thought that this coronavirus is being used possibly as a weapon, in their terms, to shut our economy down right now. Gosh. They must have a magic 8-ball. The people at the World Health Organization must have a magic 8-ball, and they ask it questions and shake it, and, oh, yes, go with that, yeah. Gosh, they're either that or maybe they're God. They know everything. All seeing, all powerful, all knowing, but he needs money. Like George Carlin said. Wow. Michael Fomento is director of the nonprofit Independent Journalism Project, where he specializes in health and science issues. He may be reached at blah, 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 blah. And, is there any comments allowed? No? I don't see any comments. I was curious to see what kind of comments were back then. There's no comments on this page. You can be rest assured, the link of this will be in the description box of this video. Faux show. And, as I said in my other videos, I'm going to have them all today in a playlist. So in the description box is a playlist link. Click that. It'll play all the videos one by one in order. And if it doesn't, just click the first video. You'll see it on the right side. Click the first video, and the rest will play right after. Wow. Is there any... How many smoking guns do I gotta bring out here, for God's sakes? How many do I have to give out? Please, someone put this in front of Bix Weir's face. Cliff High's face. For the love of God, please. Take care.